Cody Worsham, are you still on vacation?
No, I'm back in Baton Rouge, and just for the record, in case it needed clarifying, wasn't in North Korea. It was in Orange Beach, little weekend getaway.
Hey.
Yeah, man. I hear Moscow could be great this time of year.
Yeah, no trips to Russia. We're staying within the Gulf Coast. Okay, I was watching the game. I was tuned in, but I was in the United States.
We talked about Marlon Taylor last segment. He signed originally just as an athlete, and really the scouting report on him was that he had a high vertical leap. He scored 30 on senior day. What have you made of his 2 years in Baton Rouge?
He was really raw coming in. He didn't start playing basketball until, his junior year of high school maybe. He was actually a baseball player, if you can believe that. And he was in the gym one day at his high school, and his baseball coach, they had like an indoor practice because the weather was bad outside. And he picked up a ball or something and did some ridiculous dunk, and his baseball coach took him straight to the basketball coach's office and was like, look, I'd love to keep him on the baseball team, but I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't bring him to you. And so that's kind of how he got started, and he was kind of a 4-man, 5-man in high school, really. So that you kind of see all the raw stuff there with Marlon, and it's come together for him, particularly in that game. You kind of saw what he could do. And this year's been tough for him because he's had to battle a lot of injuries, and he's also had to learn, with these junior college guys, sometimes you've heard Will Wade talk about this before, that first year is almost like it's an adjustment year, and so really their second year is when they can take off. And just because of the injuries this year, he couldn't quite build up the momentum to explode, but he finally did on Saturday in a way that I think we all knew he could. And it wasn't even just the scoring. It was the way that he went after Edwards from Georgia. You could tell he took that challenge personally. I don't know who talked to him before the game and said, look, go out there and shut this guy down and you're going to catch somebody's eye, or if it was just a personal pride thing. But he just looked like a dog out there. I mean, he just had this look in his eye that I haven't seen from him a whole lot. And if he does that, man, this is a different basketball team.
Yeah, and that was apparent. I want to ask you about the kind of true nature of this team because Arkansas in this game is just such a disconnect there. But before that, you tweeted out a video that was an incredible moment from the PMAC. Marshall Graves hitting the three with 44 seconds left. Cody, you're so close to this team. You were so close to the tragedy. What did it mean to you when that happened on Saturday?
So the kind of the cool backstory here is, ever since Wade's death, the team and particularly Marshall always notices the number 44 when it pops up, just in random places. You'll hear stories about they scored 44 points and Skyler was the one that scored it, or it's just all these like little things that add up. They'll go somewhere, they'll go to some restaurant, they'll order the number 44, and they didn't even know, whatever, just little coincidences that you see pop up. But Marshall's always the one that notices them. He's very attuned to it. He's him and Wade were obviously very close, and so I'm watching at the end of the game, and I had kind of been looking for him during the game just because it's senior day and they're honoring Wade, and just kind of thinking that maybe they have a chance. And actually, Skyler scored the 45th point of the game because he had a 3 and made it 42-45. And so I was like, missed that one, whatever. And just kind of keeping an eye out for it. And then I'd kind of given up on it. I was like, it's not going to happen. It's whatever. It's silly, And then Marshall checks in and he hits that 3. And I'm like, there's 44. I mean, it hit me. Like I just got goosebumps all up and down my skin. And I was like, this is unbelievable. And some people can say that means nothing. Some people can say that it's pure coincidence, whatever. I don't know. I'd like to think that the spirit of Wade is with this team and has stuck with these guys, and that it means something, and that it's his way of telling them that he's still there. That's what I'd like to think. That's what I choose to think, and hopefully that's what they feel, because basketball's great, and I hope this team makes a run in March and all that stuff. But there's some stuff that's bigger than basketball, and Wade's life and his death and the impact that he's had on these guys, the impact he's going to have on future lives, with everything his family's doing and everything this program's doing. That's what counts. And hopefully that just continues to grow.
Very well said by Cody Worsham. You know him, you love him. Now let's talk about more of the kind of state of this team heading into the SEC championship, the SEC tournament. They get the double bye. I like their setup in terms of the potential teams that they face. But my question to you is, so you have the 99-90 game in Arkansas. Then you come back, you look incredible. You blow out Georgia. who is this team? At the last portion, there's been these highs and lows. Like, what is their true nature, Cody? Why is it so good some nights and so off at others?
I have no idea. I mean, the Arkansas game was a little weird because the foul trouble early and the officiating was a little bit different, and that kind of throws you out of a rhythm. But I have no idea who this team is. I was looking at it. They haven't won back-to-back games since the last game in January, the first game in February. And so ever since then, it's been a roller coaster. They've just been up and down, and they've been Jekyll and Hyde. And I don't know exactly who this team is. I think this team at its best is a team that is extremely efficient offensively. If you look at their numbers, they're still, I think, fourth nationally in offensive efficiency. They score basically at will. And then defensively, if they can just hold serve, if they can just be solid enough and clean up the glass and do the little things and stay out of foul trouble, I think that's who they are. I think they're a team that's going to have to beat you, 85 to, the first team to 90 basically is going to win. I think that's who they're going to be. But I do think it's a team that nobody wants to play in March. I mean, can you imagine having to turn around a quick scouting report on this team and trying to figure out how to guard them and all that kind of stuff? I'd much rather play a team that struggles offensively and maybe is more solid defensively, just because you know what you're going to do going into that game, and they're not really going to dictate to you. When you have a team like this that's so explosive offensively, that makes me nervous as an opposing coach. So it's not a sustainable style of basketball as we've seen over the last few months. I think in the last 5 or 6 games, the coaching staff has done a really good job, and the players have done a really good job of focusing in, for the most part, on a few things that they can do well defensively. The A&M game was a step forward defensively. This game against Georgia was a step forward defensively. So if they can find a few of those things and just kind of double down on them and then keep doing what they do offensively, that's kind of their recipe to try to make a run here.
Do you have one player, Cody, that's kind of like the weather vane for like deciding which direction that thing goes? Like, is there one player that you think maybe tips those scales more than anybody else?
I think it's usually Darius Days. I know he was out Saturday with the chest thing. I think usually, I won't say they go as he goes, but I think he's sort of the difference maker because of all the things that he can do on both sides of the ball. I mean, offensively, he's their most efficient player. He's, I think, the first or second most efficient player in the SEC, one of the most efficient in the country. He can knock down threes. He can rebound a ton. He can, we all know what he can do. He finishes everything around the rim. But I think defensively, too, he has an effect when he's not fouling. When he can guard a three, he can switch in the pick and roll. He's very good in pick and roll coverage. He's good in help side. He talks. He moves. And that's, to me, the biggest thing defensively is they lose engagement. I don't think it's effort. I think they lose engagement. I think they have mental breakdowns, just guys that I don't think people realize how hard it is to play defense at this level, but you have to be engaged every second of every possession. And then the moment that you disengage, that's when the other team scores, and it makes everyone look bad if it's one person's mistake. And so if you have 3 or 4 guys on the floor that do that from time to time, your defense looks terrible. Days is one of those guys who's always engaged defensively for the most part. So to me, he's the difference maker. He's the guy that if he's playing well, he's not in foul trouble, he's producing, this team is a much, much better team.
For the sake of a radio segment, before we get you out of here with a baseball question, just yes or no if they're back. I think that they should all be back. But where do you stand? And I know that there's no information here, just from your personal opinion. Do you think that Emmett Williams comes back next year?
I don't think he comes back. I'd love to see him back. I don't think he comes back.
Javante?
I'm going to say it's a coin toss, and I'm going to lean toward he comes back.
Darius?
I'm going to lean toward he comes back.
Trendon Watford?
I'm going to lean toward him leaving. These are
yes.
leans. I mean, these are
sure.
the slightest of leans.
I hear you, and I think that like everybody, nobody has any information to base that on, and I like you think that they should all come back. And the potential of LSU's team with that'd be pretty crazy. That crew coming back would be pretty scary. LSU baseball gets a much needed sweep this weekend. They travel to Oxford to open up SEC play with South Alabama in between. How do you feel about Maneri's group starting conference play?
I feel good. I felt good about them all along. Maybe I'm peddling propaganda, as Will Wade would like to say, but I think when they pitch as well as they have, I posted some numbers last night. When your pitching is that good, you're going to be really tough to beat.
Yep.
And I think the bats are getting there. Like Gio is getting there. He's been hot lately. Cranford's hitting the ball well. I mean, that's all he's got to do in the 9-hole. Just, not even explode like he did this week. Be a 250 guy driving some runs. And then I think guys like Mathis is in a little bit of a slump right now. He's going to come through. He's too good of a hitter not to come through. So when you get all those guys on the same page offensively, I think you can get the 5 to 6 runs a game that you need. And then when you have the pitching that they have, I mean, three really good starters, a loaded bullpen. Jaden Hill keeps extending. I think this is a team that's only going to trend upward. I don't think they're going to regress. I just think when you have that foundation of pitching, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, Collier Cranford. Nice to see him with 3 hits on Sunday. Cody, welcome back, man. Thanks for the time this morning.
You got it.
All right, there he is, Cody Worsham, checking in, LSU sports digital reporter